At the beginning of the story, we see a man kneeling while he was surrounded by different warriors. While on his knees, the man remembered his father's words to him. Our protagonist's father asked him to live for his clan. This meant that our MC should not desire anything and he should just stay by his brother's side like a shadow. While our protagonist was thinking, someone walks up to him. The man said that it is insulting for a single knight to hold back the continent's strongest commanders. The commanders became ashamed when they heard this. With a smile on the man's face, he told our protagonist that he is very interesting. The man was not surprised to see this because our protagonist was the brother of someone important. The man told our protagonist, whose name is Cyan Vert, that he is quite talented. Cyan was annoyed to hear what came out of the man's mouth. He called out the man's name. This man's name is Boris. Boris smiled when he heard Cyan's voice. Cyan drew out his sword and asked Boris to tell him the person who ordered for his assassination. He asked Boris if it was the emperor that wanted his head. Cyan's sword released a small amount of dark energy. Boris was surprised to see the energy which the sword was emitting. He had only heard about the black fog in the rumors. He used his hand to cover his nose due to how sickening the energy was. Cyan stood up and released a large amount of his energy. Boris was not surprised to see this. He already knew that our boy was an assassin from Mist. According to Boris, Mist is an organization that is like fog to the Knights of Light. He told our boy that he will tell his higher-ups that he got rid of an impure being that was affiliated with Mist. Cyan did not care about what Boris said. He told Boris that he will no longer have his lips by the time he is done with him. As our boy's energy slowly got close to Boris, the evil-looking priest told him to not waste his time using his secret technique. He told Cyan that the entire area is covered with 9th star magic barrier. Our boy realized that he could not continue fighting. He knew that he had to escape the knights and get to his brother. He wanted to reveal the true culprit of the assassination to his brother. Cyan took a stance and told Boris that he will simply cut the barrier into pieces. Before our boy could make a move, he hears someone asking him to stop. Boris stepped aside and bowed his head when he saw this person. Cyan broke down when he saw the person who spoke to him. While staring at this person, Cyan remembered what his father said to him. Our boy's father told him that his brother Askel is an extension of the clan. He told Cyan that the success of Askel Vert is also the success of Cyan Vert. The person who stood before Cyan was a knight. Cyan could not comprehend what was happening. He could not believe that the culprit was his brother Askel. Askel grabbed his sword and slowly walked up to our boy. Cyan fell on his knees. When Askel arrived in front of his brother, he could tell that his brother was confused. Cyan looked up at his brother and asked him to explain himself. Askel told our boy that he has carried out his duties well. He told Cyan that he has worked well for the clan and himself. Cyan was shocked to hear this. Askel told his brother that he simply wants to relieve him of his burden. Cyan grabbed his blade and began to release a small amount of energy. He asked his brother if he has done anything wrong. Askel was surprised to hear this question. Askel told his brother that the black fog that surrounds him proves that he is no longer human. He called his brother a murderer. The black energy around our boy thickened when he heard this. Askel yelled at his brother and told him that he has fooled everyone for a long time. He asked our boy if he truly doesn't know his sins. Cyan could not believe that Askel called him a murderer and a sinner. He was annoyed to hear what his brother was saying. The succession fight within the Empire, the Demon King's raid, and the war to unify the continent. Cyan helped his brother achieve all the things that he started. He did this by serving his brother with his life. Our boy smashed his hand into the ground. He could not believe that his brother was abandoning him, especially after he had worked like a dog for 20 years. As our boy became more enraged, the black energy around him thickened. Cyan stood up and decided to do things his own way. He did not care if he was going to die. He was willing to do anything to end his brother. Our boy released an enormous amount of mana and got ready to attack. The commanders were shocked to see this. They could not believe that Cyan still had so much mana left. They were certain that Cyan could not be an ordinary human. Cyan created a mask with his mana and took a stance. He asked Askel if he is not ashamed of himself. Cyan told his brother that he is a terrible person for trying to kill him because he is scared. Askel was annoyed to hear this. Cyan rushed to attack his brother. Askel easily dodges Cyan's attack. As our boy ran round his brother, he hoped to end his brother with one attack. Cyan rushed to attack his brother. He wanted to stab Askel in his weak point in order to stop him from regenerating. Before Cyan's blade could touch his brother's back, a shield appeared in front of him. Cyan was shocked to see the shield. He noticed that Boris was the one casting the spell. Before our boy could take another step, Askell stabbed him. He called Cyan a poor bastard. Our boy let go of his blade when he was stabbed. Askell told Cyan that he wanted to give him a painless death due to their relationship. He asked his brother to tell him why he showed his true colors. Askell told our boy that he has always known he was a demon. He told Cyan that he has never trusted him from the beginning. Cyan broke down when he heard this. Askell kicked our boy to the ground and turned around. He asked his men to leave with him. While on the ground, Cyan was covered in a pool of blood. As his consciousness slowly faded away, Cyan wondered if he was going to die. He was sad to see that he lived such a foolish and pathetic life. As Askell walked forward, he hears someone coming close to him. When he turned around, he saw his brother coming towards him with his blade in his hand. Cyan screamed out in anger as he rushed to attack his brother. Our boy's sword got close to Askell's neck. Unfortunately for him, he was not able to complete the job. Askell used his sword to slash and tear apart Cyan. The scene shifts and we see a boy breathing heavily as he grabbed his neck. The boy's maid asked him to get ready. She told him that he can no longer sleep. The boy was surprised to see that his maid, whose name is Emily, was in his room. He asked her to tell him how she is there. The maid was surprised to hear this. This boy turns out to be Cyan. Cyan was certain that the last time he saw Emily was 20 years ago. He did not understand how she had not aged. When he looked around, our boy noticed that the room looked exactly like the one he used to stay in when he was younger. Even the furniture arrangement is the same. Cyan did not understand what was going on. He quickly felt his face. Our boy realized that he had returned back to being a child. While Cyan was trying to grasp his situation, Emily asked him if he is stalling for time because he does not want to train. She asked her master to make up his mind and go to the training ground. Cyan was surprised to hear this. He did not know which training Emily was referring to. After getting dressed up, Cyan decided to go to the training ground. After looking at his surroundings, Cyan became certain that he had returned to the Vert clan duchy. He wondered if his life was flashing before his eyes. Upon seeing the people at the training ground, our boy remembered what happened 27 years ago. It happened March 1st of the Foundation year 985. The event took place a year before our boy entered the academy. Every year, the duchy holds a duel training session. Duke Vert, who is Cyan's father and the owner of the duchy, usually attends the event. Thanks to this, the event is treated as a big deal. Cyan's opponent was Cyan Vert. He is Cyan's half-brother who is the same age as him. Cyan's mother is a woman called Margaret. She is the wife of the Duke. Thanks to this, Cyan received a lot of attention, even though he and Cyan were the same age. Our boy was the bastardized son. After he was mocked in the duel, he became a laughing stock to everyone. Cyan remembered his father telling him not to do anything. He remembered that his father stopped paying attention to him after the duel. Currently, the same duel was about to take place. Emily begged her young master to simply surrender. Cyan could not believe that even a maid was looking down on him. He drew out his sword and assured her that he will be fine. When our boy drew out his sword, he noticed something odd. Cyan did not understand why a rapier would be heavy. He realized that his strength was the same as when he was younger. Our boy was certain that what he was currently feeling was quite realistic. He knew that his life was not flashing before his eyes. Cyan had also never heard of any magic powerful enough to create such strong illusions. Our boy began to believe that he might have truly returned to the past. Cyan was surprised to see his brother in front of him. He had expected Cyan to run away. Our boy did not care about Cyan. He was more focused on the fact that he could change the future. While Cyan was thinking, the Duke asked them to begin the duel. Cyan immediately rushed to attack his brother. He asked Cyan to stop thinking. With a smile on his face, Cyan swung his sword. Our boy noticed something odd when Cyan swung his sword. He noticed that Cyan was as slow as a snail. Cyan carefully moved aside and dodged his brother's attack. Cyan was shocked to see this. He turned around and called his brother a coward. He tried to attack Cyan again. Our boy easily used his sword to knock Cyan's sword away from his hand. Immediately he did this, he kicked Cyan's leg. The boy screamed out in pain and fell to the ground. While he was on the ground, Cyan began to cry. The Duke and his wife were surprised to see what happened. Margaret could not believe that her precious son was on the floor. Cyan knew that he could easily end the duel by putting his sword next to Cyan's throat. Our boy decided to do something else. In the past, Cyan used to bully our boy as a form of entertainment. This bullying continued in the academy. Our boy decided to stomp on his brother. He wanted to beat Krantz to the point where he would never think of doing anything again. As Cyan walked up to his brother, he decided to pave a new path for himself. When Krantz saw Cyan coming closer, he began to scream. The scene shifts and we see that our boy has completely beat Krantz up. The winner of the duel was Cyan. After the duel, the Duke ordered Cyan to come see him. He even cleared up his schedule. Cyan was surprised to see this. He wondered if his victory was actually so impressive. The Duke even gave Cyan Yulkin. Yulkin is a high-class knight who is directly under the Duke. While walking in the hallway, Cyan noticed that Margaret was in front of him. Our boy realized that Margaret was coming from the Duke's office. He could tell that Margaret went to talk about her son with the Duke. Our boy was happy to see the look on Margaret's face. She looked like she was insulted. Cyan decided to taunt Margaret. He asked her to tell him how Krantz is. Margaret was annoyed to hear this. She could not believe that Cyan had the audacity to ask such a question after beating her son up. She told Cyan that he is quite thick-skinned. As the two walked past each other, Cyan told Margaret that duels usually end with injuries. Margaret was annoyed to hear this. She called our boy a bastard and told him that bastards should not be treated like legitimate children. With an annoying smile on her face, Margaret told our boy that he is just like his mother. She told Cyan that his mother is a dirty whore. Margaret made our boy understand that he is supposed to be on the streets begging for food. She asked Cyan to stop putting up a fight and know his place. Cyan became pissed off when he heard this. He could not believe that Margaret actually crossed the line. He wondered if he should just kill her. Cyan quickly removed this thought from his mind. Our boy smiled when he thought about how he was going to torture Margaret. Nobody knew how to torture like Cyan, a former assassin. Cyan planned to torture Margaret slowly. Our boy reminded Margaret that he is also going to the academy with Krantz. Margaret did not understand what Cyan was trying to say. She asked him to tell her his point. With a terrifying smile on his face, Cyan asked Margaret if she wants her child to graduate with his limbs intact. He asked her if she is not worried about Krantz. The Duchess was annoyed to hear this. She raised her hand and tried to slap our boy, before Margaret could lower her hand. Yulkin used his hand to block her. He told her that the Duke is urgently calling for Cyan. He told her that they can no longer delay themselves. With a serious look on his face, Yulkin told the Duchess that they have to leave. Margaret was shocked to see the look on Yulkin's face. She knew that she could not touch Cyan. Cyan laughed as he hid behind Yulkin. He knew that Margaret could not do anything in the duchy. The Duke's orders are absolute. Cyan was being protected by a knight who was under an order. Our boy was happy to see that Yulkin is a knight who would not submit even to the Duke's wife. In the next scene, we see Cyan step into his father's office. He bowed his head and introduced himself as the youngest child of the Vert family. After introducing himself, Cyan greeted his father. Our boy realized that it had been 15 years since he last had a proper conversation with his father. The Duke asked his son to take a seat. Cyan's father is known as Illegitimate Vert. He is the great feudal lord of Velias. Velias is a feud which is on the western part of the Ushif Empire. Velias is also known as the guardian of the continent. He is a hero who stopped the invasion of demons for a long time. With the help of his remarkable magic power and worldly wisdom, Velias shouldered a responsibility that no one compelled him to take. He shouldered this responsibility until he was killed in the invasion of the Demon King's army. The only thing the Duke ever wanted was for there to be peace throughout the continent. While people saw Velias as a great person, Cyan saw him as something different. Cyan remembered his father as someone who gave up his own free will and decided to live his life for others. Our boy saw his father as a stupid man. The Duke told his son that his eyes followed the sword, and he easily dodged the attack. Cyan did not understand what his father was saying. The Duke reminded our boy that he looked straight at the path of Krantz's sword. Upon seeing the path, Cyan easily dodged the attack. Velias asked Cyan to tell him when he learned how to wield a sword. Cyan realized that his father was still as sharp as before. He told his father that he usually practiced his swordsmanship in the night. Velias was surprised to hear this. He was certain that his son never had an interest in swordsmanship. He asked Cyan to tell him why he hid his excellent skills. Cyan told his father that he did not want to draw anyone's attention. The Duke found this odd. He asked Cyan to tell him why he fought Krantz seriously if he did not want to draw attention. Cyan did not know how to reply. Velias asked his son if he really needed to beat Krantz up mercilessly. Our boy found this question odd. He quickly realized that his father is trying to understand what he is capable of. Our boy told Velias that he wanted to prove himself. Velias was surprised to hear this. Cyan told his father that he wanted to prove that he is better than Krantz. This is why he took the duel seriously. Willius began to laugh when he heard this. He was happy to hear that his son gave him a clear and concise answer. He told Cyan that he is quite level-headed. Willius was happy to see that his son was talented. With a smile on his face, Willius told his son that he will be a great supporter for Askel. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He had taken a different path and he still got the same result. Our boy realized that his father was obsessed with Askel. He clenched his fist out of anger. Willius told his son that he will give him anything he wants as a reward. Our boy became determined to destroy everything that Askel wants to do. With a smile on his face, Cyan told his father what he wanted. The scene shifts and we see Emily panicking. Emily could not believe that her master told the Duke that he wanted to go to the battlefront. Cyan told his maid that nothing is certain yet. Emily asked her master if he has lost his mind. She asked him if he knows the kind of place which the battlefront is. With a look of fear on her face, Emily told Cyan that the battlefront is filled with wicked and terrifying demonic beasts. Velias is the only place on the continent that can be called a battlefront. Velias and Lemia Valley are separated by a river. Lemia Valley is known as the front line. The front line is a ferocious battlefield where battles with demons have been going on for hundreds of years. Because of how dangerous the battlefront is, Willius was against Cyan's request. He told our boy that he will only grant him his request under one condition. Willius asked his son to become worthy enough to go to Lemia Valley in 1 month. Cyan was surprised to hear the condition. He did not know how his father was going to determine his worth. Our boy clenched his fist and assured himself that he will raise his physical strength before a month. Cyan knew that he was still much weaker than his peers. Our boy realized that he was quite lucky to have retained his combat senses after he regressed. He was certain that he would have not been able to beat Krantz without it. After looking at his body, Cyan was able to pull out a small amount of mana. Our boy realized that he can become stronger in a much faster way. He decided to quickly begin his training. Before our boy could do anything, someone barges into his room and calls out his name. The person who barged into the room was a girl named Alice. Alice quickly ran to Cyan and grabbed his collar. She asked him if he is crazy. While Alice was shaking Cyan, Emily simply greeted her. Alice was shocked to hear that her brother asked their father to send him to the battlefront. She asked our boy to explain himself. Cyan could not say anything. He begged Alice to let go of his collar. Alice dropped her brother. She believed Cyan was being overconfident because he defeated Krantz. She asked her brother to follow her to the roof. When they got to the roof, Alice asked her younger brother to draw his sword. She told Cyan that she will let him go to the battlefront if he can survive her attacks for 3 minutes. Our boy was surprised to hear this. He asked Alice if she actually needs to fight him. Alice told her brother that she does not want to hear his opinion. She asked him to answer only one question. Alice asked Cyan if he is going after the family's title. Cyan was surprised to hear this. He realized that Alice was worried about him because of the title. Unfortunately for Alice, our boy had no interest in the title. Upon seeing that her brother did not reply, Alice assumed that he was actually after the title. She asked Cyan to draw his sword. Our boy drew out his sword. He could not believe that he had to fight Krantz and his sister in one day. The moment Cyan drew out his sword, Alice rushed to attack him. Our boy was shocked to see this. He quickly blocked his sister's attack. Alice was shocked to see this. She could not believe that a 10-year-old managed to block her attack. Cyan was surprised to see that Alice would go all out against a boy who she has a 7-year age gap with. Alice decided to move back. She could not comprehend what was happening. Alice knew that a rapier is a very light blade, and yet Cyan was able to block an attack from her long sword. Alice wondered if her brother was just lucky. With a scary smile on her face, Alice told her brother that he has a good intuition. When Cyan saw the smile on Alice's face, he realized that he was screwed. Alice began to attack our boy more intensely. Cyan was able to block the attack, but he was slowly getting pushed back. Alice jumped and launched a heavy hit on Cyan. Our boy was barely able to block the attack. He used his sword to slowly push his sister back. Alice was shocked to see this. As our boy's sword slowly got closer to Alice, he realized that things were getting dangerous. Cyan twisted his sword and used it to push his sister back. He also stepped back to create a large gap between himself and Alice. While doing his best to catch his breath, Cyan realized that he could have made a terrible mistake. If our boy had not twisted his sword, he would have killed Alice. Thick fog is the swordsmanship used by Mist members. Most of the skills which the swordsmanship has is used for killing. It is hard for our boy to fight without killing because he currently lacks the strength to fully control his techniques. Cyan did not know what to do. He wondered if the 3 minutes his sister spoke about had not finished. Our boy noticed that his hand was trembling. Cyan had been imbuing mana into his sword in order to make up for his lack of strength. He realized that he was almost at his limit. While Cyan was thinking, Alice began to chant something. She asked the earth and the wind to act as her sword. Cyan was shocked to hear what Alice was saying. He realized that his sister was activating a 6-star magic spell. Alice took a stance and gathered mana in her sword. Her sword became known as Aqua Blade. Our boy could not believe what was happening. He realized that his sister had lost her mind. This skill is powerful enough to kill him. When Alice activated the skill, she told herself that she must not lose. She repeated this to herself over and over again. Cyan could easily tell what she was thinking. While standing at the edge of the roof, Cyan realized that he will fall out of the castle if he manages to block the attack. He decided to trust his plan. He rushed to attack Alice. Alice raised her sword in the air and accumulated a large amount of energy. Before Cyan reached his sister, he prayed that someone would come out of hiding. When our boy got close to his sister, Alice took a stance and got ready to strike her little brother. The moment Cyan was in her range, Alice swung her sword. Yulkin came out of hiding and asked Alice to stop. He drew his sword and stopped Alice's attack. He also grabbed Cyan to stop him from moving. A bright light shined when Yulkin blocked the attack. Yulkin told Alice that she is being too harsh to a younger opponent. Cyan was relieved to see that Yulkin came out of hiding. He knew that he would have been severely injured if Yulkin did not come to save him. Upon hearing what Yulkin said, Alice came to her senses. She quickly grabbed Cyan and wrapped her hands around him. She apologized to her younger brother for almost harming him. She told him that she lost her mind for a moment. As tears rolled down from her eyes, Alice told Cyan that she fought him seriously because she wanted to stop him from going to the battlefield. Our boy was not offended by Alice's actions. He knew that his sister always tries too hard. Alice is a student who is an elite among elites. She received an S rank in all her subjects in the academy. The Royal Academy is a place where different talented students gather in. Alice topped this students in almost all subjects. Apart from being smart, she is also quite beautiful. People referred to her as God's child. From a young age, she was trained in swordsmanship. People often called her the future guardian of the continent next to Cyan Vert. In the past, after Alice joined the Knight of Light, she was killed. Cyan held his sister tightly. He promised to protect her in his current life. Alice was surprised to see that Cyan held her. Alice remembered that Yulkin is the Duke's personal knight. She told Yulkin that her father has gone to the battlefield. She asked the knight to tell her why he is still in the castle. Yulkin told Alice that his master asked him to protect Cyan for a while. Of course, Yulkin could not tell Cyan because he was supposed to secretly watch him. Our boy was not surprised to hear that Yulkin was following him. He already felt the knight's presence the moment he left his father's office. Cyan realized that Yulkin would have never shown himself unless he was in danger. While our boy was happy that Yulkin was able to save him, he did not understand why his father would ask the knight to protect him. Before Cyan could think about it, he fell asleep. Our boy was already exhausted from the fight. Alice was surprised to see that Cyan fell asleep. With a smile on her face, Alice called her brother a little kid. The scene shifts and we see Cyan doing his best to work out. Cyan found out that Alice had returned to the academy. She only came home to see her father before her graduation. Cyan knew that he had to get stronger, so he focused on improving his physical strength for 2 weeks. Unfortunately for our boy, he could only do 10 push-ups at best. Cyan did not understand why he could not improve further. Our boy was quite confident about his strength because of how well built he was in the past. Cyan wanted to get his amazing body back. He realized that he needed a solution. While Cyan was thinking, Emily stepped into his room. She told her master that Alice sent a package to him. Cyan was happy to hear this. While covering her nose, Emily asked her master about the package. She asked him about why the bottle smelled so bad. The bottle contained the blood of an hellhound. Cyan begged Alice to get the blood for him. The hellhound's blood is supposed to be a rare item that should only be found in Lemia Valley. Cyan was surprised to see that Alice was actually able to get it in the black market. Cyan poured the blood into a bowl. People consider the blood of a demonic beast to be poisonous due to its sickening smell. The blood also gives a burning feeling upon consumption. Cyan knew that the blood of a demonic beast actually permanently improves one's strength and mana. Most people assume that this was a rumor. Cyan was able to confirm the effects of the blood in his past life. Cyan began to sweat heavily when he realized that he actually had to drink such a sickening thing. Emily asked her master if he is actually going to take such a disgusting blood. While Cyan was not happy to drink the blood, he had already tasted something much worse. This is Emily's food. Our boy drank the blood in one go. Cyan remembered the first time he tasted Emily's mushroom soup. The moment he had a bite, his heart stopped beating. After drinking it all, he dropped the bowl on the table. His eyes began to glow. Our boy told Emily that the taste was okay. Cyan stood up and called his maid's name. He told Emily that he wants to go for a walk. Cyan wanted to test the effects of the potion. Our boy walked far away from the castle. Cyan had been waiting for this opportunity for 2 weeks. Fortunately for our boy, Yulkin did not follow him for his regular reports. Cyan used to go to the area when he wanted to be alone. In the past, Askel received a divine revelation from the god of light Lamendel. According to the revelation, there is an ancient temple hidden in the mountains. Cyan began to search for the temple. While looking around, our boy placed his hand on the ground. He was surprised to see that the flow of mana was actually concentrated in one place. With a smile on his face, Cyan realized that only he knew about the temple. Askel still had to wait for some years before he receives the revelation. Our boy activated his mana and placed his hand on the ground. The moment he did this, the earth began to tear apart. Cyan was happy to see this. He wondered about how Askel would feel if he knew about what he was doing. The ground split apart and a pathway opened up. A bright light shined from the tunnel. When Cyan went into the cave, he noticed that it was much different from the last time he was there. The cave which Cyan is currently in was an ancient temple that served the god of light. All the history of the land was erased because of the god-demon war that took place 300 years ago. Inside the temple, Cyan saw a bright light coming from the altar. Our boy could not believe that a place like this actually existed in the mountains. When he reached the altar, he saw the owner of the temple. The owner was a floating golden sword. It was the golden sword that shined brightly in the temple. On August 12, 999 before foundation, humanity succeeded in driving out the Demon King's army from Velias. The Demon King's army were far stronger than humans, but the humans were able to fight back thanks to ancient relics which they found. These relics are known as God's weaponry. Among the relics was a holy sword blessed by Lamendel. The sword is known as Duran Dark. This sword was deemed the main cause of humanity's victory over demons. It is also the same sword that Askel used to kill our boy. Cyan wondered if Duran Dark had something to do with his unexpected regression. He decided to place his hand on the sword. As Cyan expected, nothing happened. Cyan kicked the sword out of anger. He decided to leave the sword and focus on the real reason he entered the cave. Once a person walks away from the bright light of Duran Dark, the person will feel a shadow that is otherworldly. Cyan saw a shadow that looked like a sword. At first glance, one might think it is a shadow of the holy sword, but it is actually not. Cyan knew that there was no shadow on the ground. Just as a holy sword exists, something dark must also exist. Cyan imbued his mana into the shadow. The moment he did this, the shadow scattered and created a pathway. The pathway leads to another room that is hidden by the altar of light. When Cyan stepped into the room, he saw a sword on an altar. Cyan was happy to see the sword. With a smile on his face, our boy grabbed the sword. This sword is the demonic sword Kierum. It is the sword our boy uses in his past life. The moment Cyan grabbed the sword, it released a huge amount of dark mana. Cyan greeted his sword when he held it. Our boy noticed something odd about the sword. He began to swing it around. He did not understand why his sword was not awake yet. Our boy was happy to swing his sword. He had missed the feeling of his sword. Cyan wanted to use the sword to quickly slay something. While Cyan was swinging his sword, a dark shadow being appeared in front of him. The mysterious being asked our boy if he does not fear anything. The being asked Cyan if he knows the meaning of waking it. Cyan was not scared to see the mysterious being. He told the shadow that the sword now belongs to him. The shadow rose up and increased in size. As the mysterious being looked down on our boy, it told him that there are consequences for waking a sleeping demonic sword. With a creepy smile on its face, the shadow told Cyan that it is too late for him to regret his actions. It told him that his body now belongs to it. Immediately it said this, the shadow rushed to attack Cyan. It wanted to devour him. When the shadow got close to him, our boy grabbed it by the neck. As Cyan slowly choked the shadow, its body began to wither away. We see a lady underneath the shadow. The demonic sword turns out to be a lady. Cyan told Kierum that she was not this stupid the last time he held her. The lady grabbed Cyan's hand. She asked our boy about his identity. Kierum did not understand how Cyan was able to hold her. With a confident smile on his face, Cyan told the lady that the sword belongs to him. Kierum put her hand in the shape of a claw and tried to attack our boy. Cyan easily dodged the attack. The moment he dodged the attack, the lady escaped from his grip. She quickly created a gap between herself and Cyan. Kierum asked Cyan about his identity again. She asked Cyan if he is the successor. The demonic sword noticed the odd energy around Cyan. She asked our boy to tell her why he is exuding Erev's aura. Cyan told her that he is Erev's successor. With a confident smile on his face, Cyan told Kierum that her master has come back. He asked her to bow down. Kierum was annoyed to hear this. She could not believe that a kid was trying to order her around. She quickly rushed to attack him. Cyan was able to stand his ground and block the attacks. Our boy knew that he would not be able to get through to Kierum with words. Cyan expected this because the final goal of a demonic sword is to take over the user's body. Cyan decided to educate Kierum a little. With a smile on his face, Cyan activated a skill known as demonic sword control. The moment our boy did this, the demonic sword slammed her head in the ground. While her head was on the ground, Cyan asked Kierum to accept him as her owner while he is still being nice. Although a heavy pressure was pressing her down, Kierum managed to raise her head. She asked Cyan about how he is able to use the skill. She called our boy an arrogant idiot. The moment she said this, Cyan activated the demonic sword control. Kierum's head got buried in the ground. Upon seeing that Kierum was not responding, Cyan used demonic sword control 3 more times. Upon seeing that her entire body had almost been buried, Cyan asked her for a response. Kierum called Cyan a human and told him that she will accept his offer. Due to the fact that Kierum called him a human, Cyan wanted to activate the demonic sword control again. Kierum quickly called Cyan master before he activated the skill. After getting what he wanted, Cyan stepped out of the room. He decided to head back to the castle. He realized that he had been gone for too long. Kierum turned into a small floating creature and came out of the sword. She was very excited to breathe fresh air for the first time in a long time. Kierum asked her master for his name. Our boy introduced himself as Cyan Vert. Kierum found our boy's name weird. She could not believe that Cyan was actually Erev's successor. She asked Cyan if Erev actually chose a kid like him. Our boy told Kierum that he was chosen in his past life. Kierum was surprised to hear this. She believed that our boy was saying nonsense. She asked him to explain himself. Cyan told her that he has died before. Kierum could not comprehend what her master was saying. Cyan walked up to the holy sword. Kierum told her master that the holy sword is still asleep. Cyan revealed to her that Duran Dark will have to wait 20 more years before his owner comes for him. Kierum did not understand what Cyan was saying. She told him that he speaks as if he knows the future. Cyan raised his sword up and used it to cut the hilt of the holy sword. The sword fell and Cyan grabbed the hilt. Kierum was shocked to see this. She did not understand what her master was doing. She asked him to tell her what he is going to use the hilt for. With a creepy smile on his face, Cyan told Kierum that it will make things a bit more interesting in the future. Kierum became worried when she heard this. In the next scene, we see a carriage driving away from the castle. The carriage stopped when it arrived at its destination. Cyan stepped out of the carriage in an armor. Our boy could not believe that today was the day he was supposed to meet his father. He was surprised by how fast time went. Cyan walked up to the Duke and bowed his head. Willius decided to confirm his son's decision. He asked Cyan if he truly wants to go to the battlefront. He told his son that he has one last chance to leave. With a determined look on his face, our boy told the Duke that his heart lies in the battlefront. Upon hearing his son's response, Willius asked his knight to open something. Yulkin brought out a scroll. Cyan was surprised to see the scroll. He realized that it was a magic scroll. He wondered if his father wanted to summon something with the scroll. Yulkin opens the scroll and imbued some of his mana into it. Immediately he did this. A large magic circle appeared on the ground. A demonic beast slowly came out of the magic circle. The beast was huge and it had a large amount of fire on its head. The fire went down to its tail. Cyan was surprised to see the demonic beast. He realized that his father summoned a hellhound. Our boy was not bothered by the beast in front of him. He brought out his sword and took a stance. He knew that his father and the knights must have had a hard time preparing a low-ranked demonic beast from Lemia Valley. The knights placed their hands on their sword when they saw that their young master had unsheathed his sword. They got ready to strike the hellhound in case anything went wrong. Willius told his son that he has to be responsible for all his actions. He asked Cyan to prove his resolve by passing the trial in front of him. Yulkin wondered if Cyan actually saw the demonic beast in front of him as a trial. The knight had an idea about how powerful our boy truly was. A few days earlier, Cyan asked Yulkin to have a duel with him. Our boy explained to the knight that he has only 3 days left before his father's time limit ends. He told Yulkin that he needs someone to practice his swordsmanship with. With a smile on his face, Cyan told the knight that he wants to get a real sense of battle. Yulkin did not feel comfortable with this request. He told Cyan that it is best for him to duel with Krantz, who is the same age as him. With a smile on his face, our boy told Yulkin that Krantz always runs away every time he approaches him. Yulkin already expected this because Cyan had terribly traumatized Krantz. He decided to accept Cyan's request. He told our boy that he will only fight him with his sword sheath. He told him that he will only focus on defense. He asked his young master to attack him with his full strength. Cyan thanked the knight for the opportunity. He decided to ask Yulkin for another favor. With a horrifying look on his face, Cyan told Yulkin that he must not tell his father about what he is about to witness. Cyan told the knight that he is giving him an order. Yulkin found our boy's order to be concerning. Immediately Cyan gave the order. He rushed to attack Yulkin. Our boy easily closed the gap between himself and the knight. When he got close to Yulkin, he swung his sword. Yulkin easily blocked the attack. Although Yulkin blocked the attack, he noticed that the hit was heavy. He could not believe that a 10-year-old was able to land such an attack. While the knight was in position, his young master disappeared in front of him. Yulkin was shocked to see this. He could not believe that Cyan was actually quite fast. He quickly turned around to block Cyan's attack. To his surprise, our boy was not on the ground. Cyan was above the knight. While he was in the air, Cyan attacked the knight. Yulkin was able to turn around and block the attack. Our boy began to attack more aggressively. Yulkin was able to block the attacks. Our boy took a stance and decided to deliver one final hit. Unfortunately for him, Yulkin was able to block his attack. Upon seeing that he could not win the knight, Cyan placed his sword back into its sheath. He thanked Yulkin for his efforts. Cyan already knew that he could not win. He simply wanted to test his strength. While breathing heavily, Yulkin congratulated his young master on his progress. The knight could not believe that his weak young master had grown so powerful. Although only 3 days had passed, Yulkin could tell that the current Cyan was already strong enough to overcome any trial placed in front of him. The demonic beast glared at our boy. It decided to attack him. Cyan took a stance and got ready to cut the demonic beast. When the monster got close to our boy, he swung his sword and cut one of the monster's eyes. The demonic beast stumbled and crashed on the ground. Our boy knew that it would be stupid for him to prolong the fight with his current strength. He decided to end it quickly. He wanted to end the fight with his next attack. The monster stood up and got ready to attack our boy. Before the monster could take a step forward, Cyan closed the gap between himself and the monster. Our boy stabbed the hellhound in its neck. Upon seeing that it did not die, Cyan jumped and threw his sword at the monster's head while he was in the air. The sword went through the hellhound's head and ended its life. The knights were shocked to see this. They could not believe that a 10-year-old actually killed an hellhound. The duke smiled when he saw what his son had done. Cyan was sad to see the blood of the hellhound on the ground. He wanted to get some for himself, of course. He knew that people would treat him like a crazy person if he was to actually take some blood. Our boy took out his blade from the monster's head. Willius clapped for his son. He commended our boy on his achievement. Cyan was surprised to see his father clapping. The duke turned around and told his son that he will see him at the battlefront. Cyan bowed his head and thanked his father for his help. As Willius walked forward, Kierum came out of her sword, with a look of anger on her face. Kierum asked Cyan if she is a kitchen knife. Cyan asked the demonic sword to tell him why she is asking such a question. Kierum told her master that he needs to use her. She told him that she needs blood to gain more strength. Kierum moved close to the hellhound's corpse and begged her master to allow her have one gulp. Cyan did not feel comfortable with Kierum begging him. He asked her not to worry. With a serious look on his face, Our boy told Kierum that they are going to a place where he is going to use her to his heart's content. He told Kierum that she will enjoy their next destination. In the next scene, we see ogres appear in an area. The knights in the area rang a giant bell to alert the other knights. Willius asked his knights to set up a line of defense and take care of the ogres. He asked them to slaughter all the ogres. The Duke ordered his men to activate a spell called Restraint of Salvation. Immediately he said this. Some knights raised their swords up. A large magic circle appeared in the air. The light from the magic circle blinded the ogres. Before the ogres could move forward, a magic circle appeared below them. The magic circle released some ropes made of light. This ropes restrained the ogres. Immediately the ogres were restrained. The Duke ordered his men to attack. The knights followed their master's order. They used their swords to tear through the ogres. The knights easily cut off the heads of the ogres. While the knights were fighting, one of the heads of the ogres landed in front of our boy. Emily was terrified to see the head. She cried out with fear in her voice. She looked up at her young master who was on a horse. She asked Cyan to tell her why he came to such a terrifying place. Cyan did not know what to say. As our boy looked around, he felt nostalgic. He never imagined that he would return to the front line again. Willius moved close to his son and asked him about how he is feeling. Cyan told his father that he feels a bit nervous to be on the front line. Willius made his son understand that anyone can die at any time in the front line. He asked his son to never let his guard down. With a smile on his face, Cyan told his father that he will be careful. In the front lines, it is a common thing for people to die. At least 3 to 4 battles take place in a day. Each of the battles has its own detailed response manual. The response manuals usually have advanced knights as the main attackers. The advanced knights take care of all the monsters that try to cross the front lines. After the battle was over, the knights returned to the camp. Cyan poked his head outside through his tent. Our boy was given a tent in the rearmost area. This is the safest area. When Cyan looked outside, he knew that it would be hard for him to escape, especially when he has well-disciplined guards watching his tent. Our boy knew that he might not get a chance to feed Kierum. He wondered if he needed to wait to dinner time before he made his move. While thinking of his next step, Cyan noticed that Emily was shivering under a blanket. He asked his maid to tell him why she is shaking. Emily poked her head out of the blanket and reminded Cyan about the Duke's warning. She told him that they can die at any time. Cyan was annoyed to hear this. He asked Emily about why she does not want to leave. Emily was annoyed to hear this. She yelled at her master. She reminded our boy that he cannot do anything without her help. With a look of anger on her face, Emily told her master that there is nobody to take care of him in a place filled with monsters. Cyan became nervous when he saw the look on Emily's face. The maid decided to head out of the tent. She wanted to get her master's food. As Emily walked out of the tent, our boy asked her about the cape he requested. Emily simply ignored her master. Cyan was annoyed to see this. He wondered if he should just chase his maid away. He could not believe that she was serving her master so poorly. The scene shifts and we see Cyan setting up a doll as his replacement. After carefully putting his doll in the bed, Cyan decided to leave his tent. Before he could take a step forward, Emily woke up. She asked her master if he is going to train. Cyan told her that he is. Emily was surprised to hear this. She could not believe that her master wanted to train in such a place. Emily told her master that his father will be proud of him if he finds out. Cyan was not moved by Emily's praise. He covered his head with a hood and asked Emily to take care of things. Before going out of his tent, Cyan reminded his maid that he is supposed to be asleep. Emily asked her master not to worry about it. Although it was late, Cyan knew that the security is tight at night in the front lines. He decided to move carefully. Our boy knew that this was the best time for him to move freely. While running, our boy noticed that he had reached the end of a cliff. He jumped and activated the third move of the thick fog. This move is known as Fog's Descent. This technique allowed our boy to easily land on the ground. When Cyan landed on the ground, different monsters surrounded him. Our boy remembered that a lot of monsters lived in the area. Cyan realized that he was in the right place to feed Kierum. He called out to his sword. Kierum became excited when she smelled a strong scent of blood. She began to release a large amount of energy. She told her master that she can no longer hold herself back. She begged him to cut something quickly. Immediately she said this. A large amount of hellhounds rushed to attack our boy. Cyan took a stance and told Kierum that he will be granting her wishes. Immediately he said this. Our boy tore apart the first monster that came close to him. He activated a technique called Rushing Fog Storm. Immediately, he activated the technique. He tore through the hellhounds. After defeating the monsters in the area, Cyan stabbed one of the hellhounds with a stick. He used the stick to get some of the monster's blood into a cup. When our boy drank the blood, he felt refreshed. Kierum told her master that she finally feels alive. Cyan was happy to hear this. He told Kierum that they should continue training. Kierum asked her master if they will become stronger by fighting such weak monsters. With a smile on his face, Cyan asked Kierum not to worry. He told her that the night is young and there is still a lot of monsters left. When Cyan turned around, we see a large amount of demonic beasts gathering in the area. The demonic sword became excited when she saw the monsters. In the next scene, we see a bunch of knight guarding a girl in a carriage. The girl's maid told her that the front line is dangerous. She begged the girl to turn the carriage around. The girl asked her maid to stop treating her like a child. She told the maid that she is the royal princess of the empire and she must assist her father during his tours. The princess told her maid that she will get angry if she hears one more warning. The maid apologized to her mistress. She decided to share some information with the princess. She told the princess that the youngest son of the Vert family is on the front lines. She told her that Cyan is the same age as her. The princess was surprised to hear that the duke actually took his youngest child to the front lines. The maid told her master that the duke did not take Cyan. Instead, he volunteered himself. The maid told the princess to do her best to get along with Cyan since they are the same age. The princess told her maid that she is not interested in such trivial things. She told her that she wants to get some sleep. The maid apologized to her mistress for disturbing her. Before sleeping, the princess asked her maid for our boy's name. The maid told her mistress that our boy's name is Cyan Vert. The princess was surprised to hear our boy's name. She repeated it to herself. In the next scene, we see someone cut off the head of a harpy. The person turns out to be the duke. Willius ordered his men to look after the injured. While looking at his knights, the duke commended them on their work. Willius turned to his left to see his son. He saw Cyan taking his blade out of the monster he killed. Willius walked up to his son and asked him about how he is adjusting to the front lines. Our boy bowed his head and told the duke that he is learning new things every day. Willius was surprised to hear this. He assumed that his son would have complained about the front lines and returned back home. The duke smiled at his son and commended him on his efforts. He told our boy that he is proud of him. Cyan was shocked to hear this. Willius turned around and asked his son to see him tomorrow. He told him that he has something to discuss with him. He asked our boy to come to his tent early in the morning. With a nervous look on his face, Cyan watched his father walk away. Our boy could not believe that his father was actually proud of him. Cyan had never heard his father say such a kind thing to him. In the next scene, we see a huge monster attack our boy. Cyan was able to dodge the attack. Our boy smiled when he took a clear look at the monster known as a deathworm. He could not believe that a deathworm was standing in front of him. This is because deathworms usually live deeper in the valley. While our boy was staring at the monster, Kierum spoke to him. The demonic sword noticed that her master was having trouble fighting the monster. She asked her master if he will give her the chance to take over. Cyan could not believe that Kierum would ask such a question. He told her that he will not allow her to take over. He reminded her that he is aware of her schemes. Kierum assured her master that she does not have any plans. She told him that she will use him for a bit and immediately give him back his body. While the demonic sword was talking to her master, the deathworm began to heal the wounds which Cyan inflicted on it. Kierum told her master that the deathworm can immediately heal any shallow wounds. She told Cyan that he will not be able to kill the monster if he keeps attacking it. Our boy knew that Kierum was right. He knew that the fight would go on forever if he continues to attack the monster with his current skills. It had already been a month since our boy came to the front lines. Cyan had drank the blood of countless demonic beasts, but he did not experience any improvement in his strength. Upon seeing the monster rushing towards him, Cyan decided to accept Kierum's offer. He told her that he will go along with her plan. Immediately, our boy accepted her offer. Kierum began to glow. A dark aura took over our boy. His head and his entire body began to exude a dark and terrifying aura. The moment our boy's body transformed, Kierum activated the technique of the thick fog known as demonic sword manifestation. Immediately she did this. She jumped and made several cuts on the monster. The deathworm screamed out in pain. Kierum was determined to tear the monster apart. While she was in the air, the demonic sword used another technique of the thick fog. This technique is known as the 8 fluttering petals. As Kierum descended to the ground, she used the technique on the monster. The moment Kierum landed on the ground, the monster's body began to tear apart. The scene shifts and we see someone looking at the bodies of the monsters which Cyan killed. The person turns out to be Willius. The Duke was accompanied by Yulkin and other knights. The knights held different torches to brighten the dark valley. Yulkin told his master that the mana of the hunter is very imposing. He told the Duke that the monsters might have been killed by a demon. Willius became worried when he heard this. He told Yulkin that they cannot overlook the issue if a demon is involved. The Duke asked his knight to inspect the area and burn the corpses. The moment Willius said this, he realized that the sword marks on the demonic beasts looked familiar. The Duke wondered if he was experiencing some form of déjà vu. While looking around, Yulkin found something odd. He quickly returned to his master and told him that he has to check something out. Willius walked up to his knight. When his master got close to him, Yulkin raised his torch up to show him something. The Duke was shocked to see the corpse of a deathworm. He wondered about who could have killed such a powerful monster. Willius became worried. He wondered if a particular organization was the one responsible for the death of the worm. Demonic sword manifestation is an ability that lets Kierum take over our boy's body so that she can use her true power. Although this is an overpowered ability, it can also allow Kierum to completely take over Cyan's body if he lets his guard down. While looking sick on his bed, Cyan realized that it was stupid for him to use such a dangerous ability to simply take down one monster. Our boy raised his body up. He noticed that his entire body was feeling sore. Cyan could not complain about this because he already expected such side effects. Fortunately, our boy had already drank a lot of demonic beast's blood, so he was able to withstand the demonic sword manifestation. If it was a month ago, Cyan's body would have broken down. While our boy was touching his head, Kierum showed herself. The demonic sword told her master that she has finally figured him out. She told our boy that he has the appearance of a child, but he does not act like one. Kierum realized that our boy was too proficient at using her for a first-timer. Oddly enough, our boy also knew the entire geography of the valley, and he uses the same techniques as the people who belong to Mist. The demonic sword knew that someone has to train for at least 30 years to be as skilled as Cyan. Kierum remembered that our boy told her that he already died once. With a smile on her face, the demonic sword called her master a regressor. Our boy was surprised to see that Kierum was just realizing that he is a regressor. He reminded her that he already told her that he died once. Kierum was annoyed to hear this. She reminded our boy that he has never explained anything to her. Cyan told the demonic sword that he was too lazy. Kierum realized that it would have been hard to kill someone as skilled as Cyan in the past. She knew that there is only 2 ways for someone to kill someone as powerful as our boy. She asked Cyan if he was killed by the owner of Durandark or if he was betrayed. Our boy's expression changed when he heard this. Kierum asked our boy if he was killed by the owner of the Holy Sword. Cyan asked her to tell him why she asked such a question. The demonic sword reminded her master that he looked at the Holy Sword with anger in his eyes. Kierum could tell that our boy wants revenge. The demonic sword moved closer to her master. With a terrifying smile on her face, she reminded her master that she will swallow him up if she ever sees him faltering. Immediately Cyan heard this. He used his hand to knock Kierum out of his face. Our boy pushed her into his luggage. He asked the demonic sword to know her place. He told her that he is not an idiot. Immediately our boy said this. He began to smile. He was happy to see that Kierum had not changed. When our boy got dressed, he stepped out of his tent. When Cyan arrived outside, he noticed that everywhere was a bit chaotic. Emily rushed to our boy when she saw him. Cyan asked his maid if something happened. Emily revealed to our boy that a high-level monster was found near the entrance of the valley. Our boy realized that Emily was referring to the deathworm. Emily told her master that it has been quite some time since a high-level monster was found near the camp. Instead of asking about the monster, Cyan asked his maid if there is more information. Emily was shocked to hear this. She did not understand what her master was talking about. Cyan asked her if there is any information about seeing a suspicious person or about him. Before Emily could respond, Yulkin came to greet our boy. He bowed his head and told our boy that the Duke wants to see him. Our boy realized that he messed up. He could not believe that he forgot to take care of the corpses of the demonic beasts because the soldiers suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Our boy's plan to enjoy a quiet life before entering the academy might go to waste. Our boy grit his teeth in anger. When Cyan arrived at his father's tent, he bowed his head and introduced himself as the youngest of the Vert family. Our boy believes that his father already suspects him. With a serious look on his face, Willius asked his son to take a seat. Cyan, who was still bowing his head, wondered about the excuse he would give his father if he asks about the incident. While the two were seated, Willius asked his son about where he was last night. With a nervous look on his face, Cyan told his father that he went to bed early because he felt tired. The Duke found this weird. He was certain that the sword marks on the demonic beasts was quite similar to Cyan's swordsmanship. While glaring at his son, the Duke wondered if he was overthinking the situation. With an innocent look on his face, Cyan asked his father about the reason for his question. Upon seeing his son's face, Willius realized that it was impossible for such a young child to slay a deathworm. Cyan asked his father if something is wrong. Willius asked his son if he has heard about what happened at the camp. The Duke revealed to his son that the demonic beasts were probably killed by a secret organization known as Mist. Our boy acted like he was surprised when he heard this. His father told him that Mist is an organization that has existed since ancient times. No one knows the goals of the organization, but they have killed countless nobles under the excuse of purification. According to Willius, Mist Assassin are famous for leaving a black fog wherever they go. After being active for such a long time, the organization suddenly disappeared one day. The last time they were seen was 300 years ago. Willius revealed to his son that the corpse of the deathworm was shrouded in black fog. The black fog is the trace left behind by Eru, the god of darkness. He is the god which the members of Mist worship, and he is the source of their powers. With a serious look on his face, the Duke told our boy that Mist might be responsible for the death of the deathworm and the other demonic beasts. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He could not believe that his father was able to precisely pinpoint the culprit. He found it amazing that his father was able to find the culprit even though Mist was last seen 300 years ago. The Duke did not understand why the organization would resurface in such a way. He asked his son to be careful. He told him that he will notify the Empire and investigate further on the issue. Cyan was relieved to hear this. He realized that his father believes his lie. Willius believed that it made no sense for Cyan to be part of such an organization when he is so young. He decided to change the topic. He asked his son if he knows the person that is coming to visit them. Cyan told his father that the Emperor is coming to their camp. He asked his father if the Emperor is coming today. Willius told his son that he is. With a smile on his face, the Duke told his son that he has a favor he wants to ask him for. Our boy was shocked to hear this. The scene shifts and we see a knight blowing a horn to signify the Emperor's arrival. The Duke and the rest of the knights bowed their heads when they saw the Emperor coming towards them. Willius introduced himself as the Lord of Velias and told the Emperor that he is honored to see him. The Emperor, who happens to be a man with white hair and blood-red eyes, smiled when he saw Willius. The Emperor came down from his horse and grabbed the Duke. He asked Willius to stop being polite. He reminded him that they are friends. The Duke was surprised to hear this. The Emperor noticed that Cyan was kneeling next to his father. He asked Willius if Cyan is his son. Our boy greeted the Emperor when he heard his voice. He introduced himself as the youngest of the Vert family. The Emperor could not believe that a boy as young as Cyan was residing in such a rough environment. He told the Duke that his children must be built different. While kneeling, Cyan could not believe that this was the favor his father asked of him. Our boy could not believe that his father simply wanted him to appeal himself as his son. In our boy's past life, he was cooped up in the mansion whenever the Emperor came to visit. Cyan was happy to see that his father trusted him enough to introduce him. The Emperor told Willius that he also has someone to introduce to him. Immediately he said this. Someone opened the door of one of the carriage. The princess stepped out of the carriage and bowed her head. She introduced herself as Erin Severus, the 5th princess of the Empire. Our boy immediately recognized Erin. He remembered her as the tragic 5th princess. Before the Emperor's arrival, Willius had told his son that he will need to escort Erin for a day. Our boy was surprised to hear this. Upon seeing the look on his son's face, Willius asked him not to worry. He told our boy that he simply needs to keep the princess company. He explained to him that he and Erin are the same age. He reminded our boy that he will see the princess once he gets to the academy. Cyan remembered seeing the princess in the academy in his past life. He saw her in some classes. The Duke assured his son that it will be beneficial if he gets acquainted with someone from the royal family. He told Cyan that he will not have to stay with Erin for long. He asked his son to get along with the princess. Our boy did not want to do this at all, but he understood his father's intentions. Cyan knew that his father wanted him to develop the same friendship he has with the Emperor. Unfortunately, Willius chose the wrong royal for our boy. Cyan knew that the princess cannot become his friend. Although our boy knew this, He could not share it with his father because he was the only one aware of the future. Our boy decided to play along with his father's wishes. While the group was checking the camp area, Erin noticed that the river was red. She asked our boy to tell her why it is red. Cyan referred to the river as the Blood River. Our boy told the princess that the river runs through the entire valley. According to Cyan, demonic beasts who are old or injured and can no longer fairly compete with other beasts for survival instinctively jump into the Blood River. The monster's corpse and bodily fluid will then melt into the river, making the river red from the decomposition of mana. Erin was shocked to hear this. She could not believe that the river was filled with the bodily fluids of demonic beasts. Our boy revealed to her that other demonic beasts drink and wash in the river. He told her that the river is very disgusting. He asked her not to get into it. Erin felt disgusted when she heard this. She asked our boy to tell her what is at the end of the river. Cyan told the princess that the demon realm is where the river ends. Erin was surprised to hear this. With a smile on his face, Cyan told the princess that she can meet the Demon King if she keeps following the river. Erin was shocked to hear this. Our boy was happy to see the look on the girl's face. He found it amusing to tease the princess. While the two were talking, they see a bright light in the sky. Someone shot a flare up. Erin asked our boy about the light. Cyan realized that the flare came from the 3rd sentry post. He told the princess that the yellow light signifies that the demonic beasts are coming. Erin was shocked to hear this. She could not believe that demonic beasts were coming to them. The Duke immediately ordered the knights to protect the Emperor. He asked the Guardian Knight Division troops to follow him to the 3rd sentry post, which is in the west. The moment Willius said this, the Emperor asked him to stop acting weird. He took out his sword and told the Duke that he did not come to the front lines to take a hike. He told Willius that he was already starting to get bored. Willius became worried when he heard this. The Emperor turned around and told his knights that they will join the raid. He asked them to focus on killing the demonic beasts until the raid is over. The knights accepted their master's orders. Willius turned to Cyan and asked him to join the raid. Erin was shocked to hear that our boy was going to fight the monsters. Cyan told her that he usually supports from behind. He asked the princess to return to the camp. Erin asked our boy to take her with him. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He did not understand why the princess was spouting nonsense. Erin's maid was also shocked to hear what she said. Erin told our boy that she can join since she is the same age as him. Cyan was surprised to hear what the princess was saying. He told the girl that people die in the front lines. He reminded her that she is not at a playground. Like a spoilt brat, Erin told our boy that she does not care. She told him that nobody can stop her from going. Our boy snapped when he heard this. He called out to Yulkin. Immediately our boy called his name. Yulkin appeared behind Erin. He told our boy that he will substitute the royal knights by escorting Erin back to the camp safely. The knight asked Erin to follow him. The princess was shocked to see Yulkin behind her. She pointed at our boy and called him an impudent knight. She could not believe that Cyan would treat a princess in such a rude manner. Our boy became sick of the princess. He moved close to her and stared at her with a horrifying look in his eyes. He told the princess that dozens of knights might die because of her stubbornness. He explained to her that a split-second decision can decide one's fate in war. With a menacing look in his eyes, our boy asked the princess if she can take responsibility for the lives of the knights. Erin began to cry when she heard this. Cyan turned around and asked the princess to return to the camp if she is going to cry. Erin and Yulkin watched as our boy walked away. The scene shifts, and we see the knights getting destroyed by giant snail monsters. Willius raised his sword and asked his knights to get into formation. He ordered them to protect the Emperor and slay the monsters. The Duke ordered his men to not spare any monster. Immediately the knights heard Willius' orders. They ran to attack the monsters. In the next scene, we see Cyan explaining the situation to Kierum. Our boy told his sword that the Emperor, whose name is Dion Severus, had 2 wives. Diana Quizelle was the first wife, but she died. Cassandra Nepellus is the second wife. She is considered a prominent judiciary in the empire. The first empress gave birth to 2 children. This is the first prince and the second princess. The current empress gave birth to the third and the fourth prince. Erin Severus, on the other hand, is a bastardized daughter born to a peasant mistress. The nobles treated Erin terribly due to the fact that her blood was mixed with that of a peasant. Fortunately, Erin did not care about how others perceived her. She fulfilled her duties as a member of the royal family, and she devoted herself to her studies more than anyone else. Unfortunately, the princess was framed for treason by those who resented her. She was kicked out of the royal family and the empire. Rumors say that Erin died alone from some disease on an island. Because of the kind of life she lived, people referred to her as the tragic princess. According to Cyan, Erin could have lived a happy life if she had stayed in her place. It would have been better if the girl lived without any ambitions. Kierum was surprised to hear Cyan say that Erin would have survived if she lived without any ambition. She told our boy that he is saying the same thing his father said to him in his past life. While killing some monsters, Cyan told his sword that Erin's life is different from his. He told her that royal politics is a dangerous game. While our boy was talking, he saw a golden lightning strike one of the snail monsters. When he looked into the distance, he saw that it was the Emperor that was using his magic. Cyan was surprised to see how skilled the Emperor was. Emperor Dion grit his teeth and activated a spell known as Holy Lightning. The moment he activated the spell, a heavy lightning stroked the demonic beasts that were around him. To the people of the Empire, Emperor Dion is known to be in the 8th star of magic rank. Cyan was certain that Dion would have become the head of the Mage Association if he was not the Emperor. Our boy could tell that the intermediate demonic beasts in the area are not a match for the Emperor. He believed that Dion was hunting the monsters as a hobby. The scene shifts and we see Emperor Dion and Willius in a tent. Some drinks were placed in front of the Emperor and the Duke. Dion realized that it had been a while since he last shared a drink with his friend. The Emperor told Willius that he feels a bit lonely drinking alone. The Duke apologized to the Emperor. He told him that he cannot drink while he is on the front lines. Emperor Dion decided to accept his friend's excuse. The Emperor remembered that Willius asked him about the current situation of the Empire. Dion revealed to his friend that there has been a spike in the assassination of nobles. He told him that the spike is causing a lot of anxiety in the Empire. Willius asked the Emperor if there is a pattern in the assassination. Dion revealed to the Duke that all the nobles who were murdered were corrupt officials. A black fog was also present in the places which the assassinations took place. Willius was surprised to hear this. Upon seeing the look on the Duke's face, the Emperor asked him if he has any ideas about the assassinations. Willius explained to the Emperor that he also saw traces of the black fog in the front lines. He told the Emperor that the followers of the black fog have returned. Dion believed that his friend's words made a lot of sense. He asked Willius to still make more investigations. The Emperor thanked the Duke for his efforts in the front lines. He told Dion that he feels bad for asking him to do more. Unfortunately, the Emperor could not sit by and watch as the people's anxiety grows. Dion told his friend that he still has one more problem. Willius asked him to share it with him. According to the Emperor, some nobles are saying that the assassinations were caused by the 5th princess. Willius was shocked to hear this. He could not believe that some people were trying to pin the incidents on the 5th princess. The Emperor explained to the Duke that he has been suppressing the nobles by shrugging off their words as nonsense. However, there seems to be a group that wants to use Erin. With a serious look on his face, Dion told the Duke that he has a favor he wants him to help him with as a friend. He asked Willius to take care of Erin if something ever happens to him. Willius placed his hand on his chest and told the Emperor that he will carry out his order to completion. Dion thanked his friend when he heard what he said. In the next scene, we see Emily listening to Cyan's story. The girl was surprised to hear that her master only escorted the princess. She asked Cyan if nothing else happened. Cyan did not understand what his maid was expecting. He asked her if she wants something else. The girl could not believe that her master left the princess after escorting her. With a look of anger on her face, Emily told her master that he will never get married if he does not change his behavior. Cyan did not understand what Emily was saying. He was certain that he was not on a date with the princess. Our boy turned to his entrance and asked Emily to take care of things while he is gone. The maid was surprised to hear that her master wanted to train again. She reminded him that it is raining heavily outside. Cyan asked Emily to not worry about it. He told her that he will be fine. He asked her to not wait up for him. While our boy was talking, someone who covered their face walks into his tent. Emily screamed when she saw the person. She asked the person for their identity. The person took off their hood when they heard Emily's question. The person turns out to be Erin. The 5th princess asked Cyan to stay. She told him that she wants to talk to him. Emily's eyes glowed when she saw Erin. She welcomed her to the tent. Cyan was shocked to see how enthusiastic Emily was. Erin's guards stood outside to watch the area. Erin took a look at our boy's room. She asked Cyan about the amount of time he has spent in the front lines. Our boy told her that he has been in the front lines for a month. Cyan asked the princess to tell him why she came to see him. Erin was about to respond when she noticed something odd. The girl saw that Emily was staring at her with a strange look in her eyes. She asked the maid to give her and Cyan some privacy. Our boy was also worried to see the look on his maid's face. He asked Emily to step out for a bit. With a weird smile on her face, Emily asked the two to have a good time. Cyan and Aaron did not know how to react to this sentence. After spewing nonsense, Emily left the tent. Our boy could not believe that his maid asked him to have a good time with a 10-year-old. After Emily left, Aaron apologized to our boy for how she behaved. The girl's face turned red the moment she said this. She felt shy. Aaron told Cyan that she did not act the same way a princess should. Our boy also apologized to the princess. He told her that he was too rude. The girl laughed when she heard this. She told our boy that she would have also said the same things if she was in the same position as him. With a look of sadness on her face, Aaron told Cyan that he is more matured and a lot of people acknowledge him. Our boy immediately understood the girl's personality. With a smile on her face, the princess told Cyan that they can become friends when they enter the academy. Before she could say more, Cyan caught her off. With a serious look on his face, our boy told Aaron that he cannot be of any use to her. Aaron was shocked to hear this. Cyan asked the princess to leave if she came to make friends with him. Aaron told our boy that he is harsh. She explained to him that she simply wanted them to be on good terms. With a horrifying look on her face, Aaron asked Cyan if he also thinks of her as a shell of a princess. Our boy was surprised to hear what she said. As tears flowed down from her eyes, the princess told Cyan that she understands him. She believed that our boy did not want to get close to her because it does not come with any benefits. She apologized to Cyan for wasting his time. As she walked past our boy, she told him that she was short-sighted. She told Cyan that he is nothing like Askel. Cyan was shocked to hear his brother's name. He quickly turned around and grabbed Aaron's hand. The princess did not understand what our boy was doing. She asked him to let go of her hand. With a terrifying look on his face, Cyan asked the princess to tell him how she knows his brother. While struggling to set her hand free, Aaron revealed to our boy that she met Askel last year when she was touring the Royal Academy. According to the princess, Askel advised her to not care about what others think. He told her that she should focus on fulfilling her role as a princess. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He knew that a demonic bastard like his brother can never advise Aaron for free. Our boy realized that Aaron's problem began the moment she met his brother. He knew that the princess's downfall will be caused by his brother. Our boy decided to warn Aaron. Before he could say anything, Emily ran into the tent. She told her master that he has to run. The moment Emily said this, a huge boulder crashed into their tent. The explosion from the crash pushed Emily away. The knights in the area were shocked to see the explosion. They were more shocked to see a monster standing over their young master's tent. They quickly ran to the tent. It turns out that the tent was attacked by a demonic beast. Emily fell to the ground when she saw the demonic beast standing over her master's tent. As tears flowed from her eyes, Emily called out to Cyan. In the next scene, we see someone report the situation to the Emperor and Willius. The two men were shocked to hear what was happening. The knight told the men that advanced rank demonic beasts have ambushed them from the rear part of the camp. The knight told the men that the princess went to the rear when the incident occurred. The emperor stood up and asked the knight to take all the members of the imperial army to the rear. He told the knight that they must secure the princess. The knight accepted the emperor's order and immediately stood up. Dion found it odd that his daughter went to the rear camp. He became curious about the person his daughter went to meet. The scene shifts and we see the demonic beasts destroyed the area with their large axe. While hiding behind a rock, Cyan took a look at the demonic beasts in the area. He was surprised to see that the area was surrounded by ogres and deathworms. Our boy was certain that such monsters only reside in the deeper parts of the valley. He realized that something must have changed for the monsters to come to the rear camp. Cyan wondered if he was the cause of the change. While our boy was thinking, Emily called out to him. With tears flowing from her eyes, the maid told her master that she will never leave his side again. Emily was relieved to see that her young master was alive. When the boulder came crashing from the ceiling, Cyan grabbed Aaron and took her out of the way. Our boy did not understand why Emily was worried. In Cyan's past life, he killed the Demon King. Our boy was certain that he could never die to a mere ogre. With a look of sadness on her face, Aaron asked Cyan if the knights in the camp will be okay. Emily turned to the princess. With a confident look on her face, Emily assured Aaron that the knights are strong. As tears flowed from her eyes, Aaron told the maid that some knights would not have died if they did not follow her to the rear. One of the knights that was next to her asked her to not cry. He told the princess that it is their duty to protect her as knights of the empire. With a smile on his face, the other knight told Eren that they will protect her with their lives. The moment the knight said this, our boy saw something behind him. He quickly asked the knight to move. The knight did not understand what Cyan was trying to say. Before the man could react, an ogre grabbed him. The ogre squeezed the knight's neck and slowly crushed his armor. The knight screamed out in pain. Our boy quickly ran to the front of the princess. He asked her to stay behind him. The moment Cyan stood in front of the princess, the ogre smelled his presence. Our boy realized that his suspicion was correct. He understood that the ogre wants him. The demonic beast threw away the knight and walked towards our boy. Cyan asked Emily to leave with the princess while he distracts the demonic beast. The moment Emily heard her master's order, she grabbed Eren and began to run. She asked the knight to leave with them. Cyan was annoyed to see this. He realized that Emily was eager to leave. The ogre raised its hand and got ready to slam our boy. Cyan took a stance and jumped. While he was in the air, our boy used his blade to slash one of the monster's hand. Cyan did not understand why the demonic beasts were attracted to him. He was certain that they could smell something on him. Kierum laughed when she heard Cyan's thoughts. She reminded him that he drank the blood of countless demonic beasts in order to become stronger. The demonic sword materialized herself. She told our boy that he smells exactly like a demonic beast's. This is why the monsters came for him. Cyan was shocked to hear this. He asked Kierum to tell him why she never warned him. With an evil smile on her face, Kierum reminded our boy that she wants to take over his body. Upon hearing what Kierum said, Cyan grabbed her and shoved her back into the sword. The demonic sword yelled at her master for his behavior. She asked him to treat her better. Cyan asked her to shut up as the ogre rushed to attack him. Our boy took a stance and ran towards the demonic beast. While running, Cyan told Kierum that he does not care about the amount of monsters that come for him. The moment he said this, our boy jumped and used the demonic sword to cut the ogre's hand. While the ogre was screaming in pain, Cyan beheaded it. When our boy landed on the ground, the ogre's body fell. While staring at a large amount of demonic beasts, our boy told Kierum that they can drink the blood of the advanced-rank demonic beasts. Kierum became excited when she heard this. She could not believe that they were going to have a feast. Before the fight started, Cyan saw a unique demonic beast. Our boy saw a demonic beast known as a devil dragon at the top of a cliff. The devil dragon screamed in order to warn the other monsters about its presence. Kierum revealed to our boy that the devil dragon is still a baby. She told Cyan that the devil dragon must have also caught his scent. Our boy smiled when he heard this. He did not particularly care about why the monster came. He was more focused on catching it. Cyan activated his demonic sword manifestation. His entire body was covered in a dark and terrifying energy. Cyan told Kierum that she must eat the devil dragon. The scene shifts and we see an ogre getting destroyed by the Emperor's magic. After getting hit with a lot of lightning arrows, the monster fell. Dion asked Willius if the ogre was the last demonic beast in the area. The Duke told him that it was. The Emperor asked the Duke about the situation of his daughter and Cyan. Willius apologized to the Emperor. He told him that he cannot find traces of the children past the tent. Dion asked the Duke not to worry. He believed that Willius was also worried about his son. With a serious look on his face, the Duke told the Emperor that he is not worried about his son. He told him that they need to focus on finding the princess. Emperor Dion was surprised to hear this. He wondered if Cyan was really the Duke's son. Willius told the Emperor that a member of the Vert family should know how to look out for themselves. While the men were talking, a knight comes to interrupt them. The knight told the Emperor that they found the princess. Dion asked the knight if he is certain. Immediately Eren saw her father. She ran to him. The Emperor asked his daughter if she is fine. Eren ignored her father's question and told him that they need to save someone. Dion did not understand what his daughter was saying. He asked her to tell him who she wants to save. With tears flowing from her eyes, the princess told her father that they need to save Cyan. Willius silently stood behind the Emperor when he heard this. Dion asked his daughter to calm down and explain the situation to him. Willius walked up to Emily. He recognized her as Cyan's maid. With a horrifying look on his face, the Duke asked Emily if something has happened to his son. Emily began to tremble when she saw the look on the Duke's face. She had never seen Willius make such an expression. She told the Duke that Cyan used himself as bait in order to provide time for them to escape. The knight next to Emily told his master that he knows where our boy was last seen. He asked the Duke to give him an order. He assured Willius that he will find Cyan with the other knights. The Emperor asked Willius to give the order immediately, to everyone's surprise. The Duke said that he will not give such an order. The Emperor and Aaron could not believe what they heard. Dion asked his friend if he is serious. With a serious look on his face, Willius explained to the Emperor that they have to first take care of the situation at the camp. He reminded the Emperor that the demonic beast will invade the Empire if the camp falls. The Duke believes that they have to reconstruct the camp in order to avoid more deaths. Emily asked the Duke about what they will do about her master. With a cold gaze in his eyes, Willius told the maid that our boy has done his duty by helping the princess evacuate. He told her that Cyan has done what is expected of a Vert. Aaron did not like what she was hearing. The princess did not like the fact that more people are dying because of her. While she was crying, Aaron and the other people in the area hear the sound of a monster screaming. When the group looked up, they saw a dragon. When Aaron carefully looked at the dragon, she saw Cyan desperately holding on to the monster's leg. Guys, we have come to the end of our video. If you guys want part 6 of this recap, let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button for more recaps. See you guys later.